This is a little video to show you some of the basic features of Minitab, which is the software program we're using in this course. So when you first open the program, you're going to see a window that looks like this. And Minitab basically starts off, you've got two windows. The top one here is the Sessions window. And notice that when I put my cursor in this top window, then the bar here at the top turns a darker blue, which tells me this is the active window. When we get the program to do various things, some of the output we're going to see is going to get displayed here in the Sessions window, and then you should be able to copy and paste that into, say, a Word document or something like that. Down below here is a worksheet, and when I put my cursor in here, notice again that the bar goes, excuse me, a darker blue. You can have multiple worksheets open. At the moment, there is one worksheet open here and the Sessions window. Minitab works differently than does Excel. Number one, anything we want to do with data, generally speaking, it has to be arranged in columns. And data of the same type are arranged in columns rather than rows. Minitab recognizes three types of data, so I could have, I don't know, this could be iron concentration, and I could plug in some values here. And notice now I just plugged in 3.45, but if I plug in my next number, which might be, I don't know, 3.671, which has three places after the decimal, notice that the 3.45 now automatically gets a 0. Minitab will take any numerical data and display them all with the same number of decimal places. And again, I could do this, 7.6, and it's going to add two more zeros. Also note that when I input my data, I put a header on this column. This is always a good idea, because if you don't, let's just say we ask Minitab to graph these data, and for argument's sake, let's say it's a histogram. What the program will do is generate the histogram, and then it will just say histogram of C1 if I don't put anything in this block. Whereas I've called this iron, and therefore if I generated a graph, it's going to tell me it's a histogram of iron, which certainly tells me and anybody else what these data might represent. Okay, so these are numerical data, and of course, because they're numbers, we can find an average value, we can find a standard deviation, a max, a min, a median, and etc. Now, other types of data we might be working with are called categorical or qualitative data. And I don't know, let's just say this represents flavors of ice cream. If I could spell that right, we'd be all right. Ice cream, yeah, I still don't have it spelled right. Ice cream, okay. And I don't know, maybe my flavor of ice cream is vanilla. Now, as soon as I hit the return tab, Minitab has automatically now recognized these data as text, and I see up here it says C2-T. And there's limited things I'm going to be able to do with data like this. I might be able to count them, but I'm not going to be able to find an average value or a max or a min. There's another type of data which you might be working with, and that's called date data. So, I don't know, today's September 11th, as it turns out. And Minitab now has recognized these data as dates, and it has C3-D. So three types of data. Generally speaking, in this course, we're working with numerical data, or we're working with text or categorical data, as it's called. Okay, so our data of one type go in columns. That's generally the setup. Now, let's just have a look up here at this toolbar and see what Minitab will do for us. First of all, under the File tab, we could open up a new project, and I'll talk about that in a minute, or I could open up a new worksheet. And when you're doing assignments, you might want to open up a new worksheet for each different question, just so that you don't have too much data in one worksheet. So if I click on this, Now I get a second worksheet opens up, and notice my cursor's in here. This, which is hard to tell on my computer, this worksheet right here is the active one. This bar here should be a darker blue than the one in behind. If I want to work with the data in the one in behind, I've got to click on that, and now this is the active worksheet. If you lose track of where your worksheets or your graphs are, if you go to this tab up here which says Window, it will show you what you have open. So I've got the Sessions window open, Worksheet number 1 and Worksheet number 2. The worksheet that's currently active, or the last thing that I accessed, has got the 3 asterisks right here. So now if I want to do anything with Worksheet number 2, I could pick that, and here it is. You can have, you could have 100 worksheets open. I wouldn't advise it, but you could. Alright, so we have the Sessions window, we have Worksheets. Under the File tab, besides New, sometimes you want to be opening files. Generally speaking, in this course, you're probably not going to have to do that, because anything I give you, you're going to double click it, and when you do, it's automatically going to launch Minitab, and it's going to have the appropriate worksheet or project that you need. So that's not really so critical here, but if we did have to open work, if I go to open up a file on my computer, I need to know where it is. And I know that you guys are not here in the building. For my students in the building, there is a server here called Students, and that's where they would access the data. But as I say, generally speaking, you're not going to do that. You're simply going to click it, and it's going to launch the program for you anyway. Alright, you could, once you're working on something, you might want to save your work, and there's 2 options. You can save your work as a project or save it as a worksheet. Now let's look at the difference between these two. When you save your work as a worksheet, all Minitab is doing is saving the current active worksheet, and whatever data you have in this worksheet is all that will get saved. That file extension, by the way, is whatever name you give it, .mtw, Minitab Worksheet, MTW. You could save your work as a project, and if you save it as a project, the file extension is called MPJ, Minitab Project. And the difference between a project and a worksheet is that if you save it as a project, anything you've generated up here in the Sessions window will get saved. And for argument's sake, let's say you've got 10 worksheets open here, it will save all the information in all of the worksheets. Plus, if there's any graphs that you've got open, it will save all those graphs. Now the downside to that, of course, is that projects are going to be bigger files than worksheets. But the choice is yours. Students do, well, some do worksheets, some do projects. Alright, now that's pretty well all you're going to use under the File tab. Under the Edit tab, you can do copy cells and delete and clear and all of that. The undo, by the way, is really limited in Minitab. You might get one crack at undo. It's not like Microsoft Office where you can keep on undoing things. Once you do one undo, I think that's all you're allowed. Okay, under the Data tab, we might want to stack our data or unstack it, and I think I might have shown you that in another video, and if I haven't, I will show it to you later. I'm not going to belabor that right now. Sometimes we might want to use the sort. In this course, we're not likely to rank. Sometimes, by the way, you might need to change your data type. And this is not going to work for me here now because I don't have any data. But anyway, if this becomes an issue, I can generate a little video to show you what to do with this. Alright, so there's not a whole lot here under the Data tab that we are typically going to do in this course. Under the Calc tab, this calculator function is something that we will use, and one of the main uses of this is for taking logs of data, but that's already shown to you in a separate video, so again I'm not going to show you that one. Later on, we're going to look at generating random data, and later on we will also look at some of these probability distributions. The meat and potatoes of this program is under the Stat tab, and under the Basic Statistics tab, we will be using most of what is in this list, and these will come up in separate videos as the course goes on. Towards the end of the course, we'll use some of the options under regression, and we'll be using the first option, one-way analysis of variance, later on in the term. Some of the other things we're going to use kind of at the start of the term here, we're going to use the table feature, crosstab and chi-square, and that's pretty well it for this list. There are a number of graphs, and each of these graphs that we will be using in this course, there will be videos to show you how to do that. Under the Editor tab, there's not much you're going to do here. In the old days, by the way, if your cursor was here in the Sessions window, and mine is here, and I went to Editor, I could say Enable Commands, and now I could type in a command for Minitab right here. Fortunately, we're not going to do that in this course. Under the tools, there is a regular calculator right here that you could access. And what else have we got? It's pretty well it for what you might see here. And as I said, under the Windows tab, when you lose track of graphs and worksheets, you can find it down here in the list. And then there's a help, but for each one of our pull-down menus, there's help anyway. And there is an assistant, which I'm really not going to get into. So really, the bulk of what we're going to do in this course is going to involve the Stat tab, the Graph tab, a little bit under the Calc tab. There is a wonderful button right here, which will open whatever was the last dialog box you had open, and this one is a really good idea to have a look at. I think that's it for now. I may generate another video to show you how to do various graphs, although to be honest, I think I've already got most of them covered in subsequent videos.